I leave for 3 weeks. Away from my computer, away from Warcraft, totally on vacation and checked out. I come back, and everyone is playing some WoW-skinned Fortnite knockoff. What in the... You have entered the Solo Queue, a monthly podcast about adventuring alone in the world of Warcraft. Thanks for joining me. My name is Dave Gagne. Welcome back to the Solo Queue for episode 6, our March episode, our long-awaited March episode, because it is, even as I'm recording, March 31st. My target deadline for episodes is the 21st of each month, but man, it's been a strange time for me. When you last heard from me, I was 1 foot out the door, heading on a big, long vacation with my wife. We are both approaching some big birthdays this year, so we decided to spend 3 weeks in France, and my goodness, it was amazing. France is a lovely country. We saw all sorts of different regions. We spent time in a lot of different places, and we ended our trip in Paris with 5 days in Paris, and it was phenomenal. It was, nice to take a break from the real world, from my regular world. We got away from the news in the real world and all the stuff going on. Life is a different pace in France. Obviously you're out of your routine if you're away from home and if you're away from, your normal responsibilities. So that was fantastic. Man, we live busy lives, and it was very clear from the people in France that they really do embrace the idea of working to live. They have jobs so that when they're not at their jobs, they can go and do stuff. And here in America, man, we do sometimes get caught up going in the other direction, living to work. I know I love my job as a teacher. It requires a lot of time and energy. Sometimes it does feel like a little bit like, man, I live so that I can work and I get all that stuff done. But hey, sometimes you start a podcast and you just say, I'm going to do that because that's fun. And so here I am, 6 months later. This is the 6th episode. This is a half a year. I'm not sure I can even believe that. It's fantastic. Thanks for joining me. Welcome back. It is an odd time in WoW for me, partly because of the vacation. Sad fact, on day 3 of vacation, I managed to lose my phone, my brand new iPhone that I kind of got just for the trip, taking photos and doing stuff. And that was, it certainly had an effect on our trip, but as far as the podcast goes, I did have my laptop with me. I did think, I'll check in on Warcraft every now and then. I'll have some down moments and, check out new things as they come out. Well, without my authenticator, that just became impossible. So it ended up being almost 4 weeks away from the game between, packing up to leave and then 3 weeks away. And by the time I got back and found some free time, I was away for a while. And so the vacation from WoW, this is probably a good time for it, given that we're late in the expansion. We're even late in seasons, if you care about those sorts of things, coming up on the end of Season 3. Season 4 is just around the corner, sometime in April, if I remember right. my life is really busy. Coming back from vacation, of course, I have to catch up on work as everyone does. You know, that American thing of got to do my work. And so that break was a little bit forced, but it was kind of nice. And in some ways, it is getting me a little bit back to basics in playing. And if we're back in basics, well, maybe that's why we are in Mulgore today, in Bloodhoof Village. Mulgore, one of my favorite Horde zones. The Taurens, one of my favorite starting zone races, and the quests in Mulgore are fun. Thunder Bluff, which we'll talk about in a little bit, fantastic city. So why not come back to one of those peaceful, tranquil, beautiful, old school zones in all of Warcraft? I think you should go there and check it out. But let's get started. I think I want to kind of start with what I accomplished in this previous month, and that should be a pretty quick segment because, yeah, away on vacation. I think I literally published the previous episode of this podcast from the boarding gate at Logan Airport as we were about to get onto an Air France flight. So really, since the last episode, it's been mostly vacation. I have not entered into Season of Discovery. I know that the maximum level went up. I was excited because that meant they were going to boost the experience gained if you were under level 25. So I thought, all right, we'll get in there, we'll do some leveling, check out some more runes. Well, one of the in listening to the news of one of the podcasts I check out regularly, one of their news items was, and Season of Discovery about to go up another 10 levels soon. So I feel like I missed a lot, but I have not done Season of Discovery. The first thing I did when I finally had a moment to turn my attention to Warcraft was realize that the Hearthstone event, while you could get the mount anytime between March and May, the event that was going on was only for a limited number of days. And the limited number of days turned out to, A, have already been extended, and B, was going to run out the next day. So I found all of this on March 21st. March 21st, I found the Hearthstone event. March 21st, I logged back into WoW kind of for the first time in a while. Realized, oh, that's a thing. And, you know, there's some kind of cool rewards. The Hearthstone, which was not actually called the Hearthstone, the Stone of the Hearthstone. Pretty cool animation. I thought, oh, I'd like to get that. But really, that disc mount, not that I'm a huge fan of the disc mounts, but I don't have any of the others, but this one seemed pretty cool with the Hearthstone logo. All right, you know what? I'm going to jump in and try and do it. And so killing the boss every few minutes, every half hour, whatever. I did learn from the guys on the starting zone that if you kill the boss, then you hop into a group. You might have other chances to kill the boss because it sort of, the way it popped out and different sharding and all of that stuff. So eventually I did figure out how I could get 2 to 3 chances at the boss each half hour. And it ended the next day. So March 21st I get in. March 22nd at 1 o'clock Eastern time was the end of the event. So I had limited time. And of course, there were Hearthstone cards on offer, and I jumped in and plugged away. I kind of did that every half hour, kind of doing other stuff, grading things, getting caught up on work. But lo and behold, I was able to get everything by about 10 o'clock the next morning. I collected all the Hearthstone cards. The cards were actually the last things I had to get. I did get the mount, I did get the Hearthstone, I did get the whatever else there was. There was some weapon appearances, I think. There was a couple pieces of gear if I remember right, the belt and the hat and a few things that look pretty cool. And so, it's one of those things like, it's limited time. It's one of those things, I don't know, just killing a thing every time to collect a thing. But I don't know, they looked pretty cool. So I put in, had fun, did it. Next item on my list to accomplish really quickly was the March trading post. Not a lot. I bought a couple things. I even bought the Sylvan Stalkers leathers, an ensemble group of Mog, basically a leather set of gear that it first came on the trading post. I don't even know. 10 months ago, 9, 11, I'm not sure. It's been on forever. And I did the freezy thing, like, it looks kind of cool, but I can't afford it. I'll freeze it. And every month it'd be like, I don't know. It's good, but I'll save my money for this mount or that or whatever. Well, I did mention last month that Love is in the Air is not exactly my jam. So after spending almost nothing in February, I had a lot in March. I did run out and accomplish enough stuff to get my 1,000 tenders. So I was sitting on a pretty healthy excess, I think around 3,000 something tenders. So I finally went and spent the 750 to unfreeze the Sylvan Stalkers leathers. I think none of my druids will wear them. That's not a very druidy outfit, but it does seem like a good demon hunter outfit. Maybe a rogue, although I don't love playing rogue, but And it doesn't seem monkey either. Oh, monkey's the real word. Monk-like. Let's go with monk-like. It doesn't seem monk-like either, but definitely I think it'll be good on a demon hunter. And now I finally freed up my freezy slot, so I can freeze something else if I need to. As I was looking at the trading tenders to-do list, how to get your 1,000 for the month, one of the items was level 10 levels on. It was a number of classes. I think it was Mage, Warlock, and Paladin. And I was looking at the list like, okay, how am I going to accomplish this? I don't have a lot of time. I'm not going to do this or that. Oh, I could get some progress towards that with leveling. So I've got a lot of low-level characters. Why don't I don't know. Let's keep it simple. Why don't I hop in and start leveling one of my younger characters. So I grabbed a level 17 Tauren Paladin, level 17, because if you go through Exile's Reach, you get to level 10, and then 7 levels is what you will get if you do the trivia in November for the anniversary event every day. So she got her 7 levels. So really, this paladin had never been out in the world. And, I thought getting back to Mulgore, doing some just basic leveling, it's not mindless. I mean, it is a little bit, but it's not, because I'm actually not doing anything else. I'm just looking at the awesome zone here, listening to this awesome music, the mesas or bluffs in the background. If you're a young character, you haven't gotten to Thunder Bluff yet, so you're running around and doing some questing, killing some striders for meat and other things. It's fun. I don't know. Sometimes it's just good to slow down and do something that doesn't require a lot of thinking. I'm not reading the quest text because I've read it all before. I'm not one of those people who never reads quest text, but when I go back to familiar places, that's kind of the beauty of it. Like, I'll read a few, but I don't need to. There's no need. There's no need for anything. It's just in the game to enjoy and find some peace in a very busy time, and this was the exact way to do it, and that was fantastic. I did get 4 levels, kind of played for a bit, pounded through some levels, and thought, man, 6 more levels just to get 150 points or whatever that was. So I didn't end up actually getting the 10 levels. I did other things in the list to get to 1,000, but it was still a really nice back to basics moment. And that's kind of what got us here for this episode here in Mulgore. And then, having accomplished the March trading post, having earned all the pretty Hearthstone things for the 10-year anniversary, it was time to do the next new thing that I hadn't had a chance to start yet. The thing that was all the rage on the Twitters and everything. And that, of course, is the Plunderfest, Plunderstorm, whatever it's called. I'd seen a lot of mixed reactions. I'm trying not to prejudge it. I'm trying not to, I can see for myself. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't look on the Wowhead or the Blizzard info. I just thought, all right, I see it there in my character screen. I guess I just click on that. I hop in, and I hopped in. So let's go to the news.
You bring news?
What news from the mainland?
Have you any news?
Okay, in the news for March. Yeah, the big news, of course, is the drop of the long-awaited patch 10.2.6. Blizzard had been hyping this for weeks, if not months, saying, yep, this is going to be a new thing. It's going to be open to anyone playing Classic or Retail. It's going to be different. It's going to be maybe Pirates themed, of course, because the Pirate flag has been out on that product roadmap since the start of the year, since we got the roadmap. Everyone wondering what's going on. And as I said in the intro, I come back from vacation and everyone seems to be playing Fortnite. I don't play Fortnite. I just don't care about Fortnite. And, hey, this is personal preference, and I'm not pretending that everyone does the same thing. I'm not a first-person shooter kind of player. I am not a big PvP kind of game player. I am not a battle royale player. I'm not a fast twitch finger muscle game reaction time player. I'm not a lot of things. I guess that's the benefit of just getting old, is you start to figure out what you like and what you are and what you aren't. This is no knock on anybody who likes Fortnite. And it's certainly not a knock on Blizzard trying to get new people into Warcraft. And I have to assume that's the goal, either to get new players in to start paying that sub and get that sweet sub money into the Microsoft world, or give people more things to do inside the game to keep them from, dropping their sub and coming back in 6-8 months or whatever. I know that seems like a good goal. I just don't know if this is the way. Is this the way? Is this the thing? It is odd to jump into I'm going to use air quotes here, a mode of the game, because I would argue this is not Warcraft, but obviously it's available with my Warcraft subscription. I would argue getting into a mode of the game that has nothing to do with any of my characters seems weird, seems strange. It is good for the people who want to play this mode. After I started playing it, I did start looking at feedback and listening to what people are saying. I think it's great if you love or even like or want to play this style of game, and it may be really cool to see Battle Royale come to the Warcraft universe. That may be really cool for you. That's awesome. I have no problem with that. I'm not one of those people who's going to say, Blizzard shouldn't devote their resources to things I don't like. That's not me either, right? I don't feel like I've been ripped off and I didn't get a certain thing because they did this. The one part that I guess is interesting, I'm not going to complain. I'm really trying to not complain, because I don't need to complain. They didn't take anything away from me. I didn't lose a part of the game that I like so that they could do this. But what is interesting is the question that this battle royale, this plunder grab brings up. And that is, if you're going to offer me things inside of World of Warcraft, but I have to go outside of World of Warcraft to do them, is that a good thing? And I guess it's not even necessarily for me that it's outside the game, because whatever, that's fine. It's the whole idea that you're going to have me play a game style that I do not care about. I do not want to play PvP inside the game for the most part. I certainly don't want to do it and this I think is the thing that drives me the most crazy about Blunderbuss. My buttons are different. I want to push. I want to use the buttons. I want to do 1, 2, and 3 to blow stuff up or do stuff. Why are there things on the R and the T and the whatever else? Hey, if you know a way to change those buttons, certainly let me know on social media or email me or whatever. Let me know. I haven't researched it. It sounds like from somewhere I heard that you could remap the keys, but you kind of have to do it every game. If that's true, oof, that's rough. I will be banging on 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and realize I'm not doing any damage to anything, and I got to go hit different buttons. It's very frustrating, says the guy who plays like one video game. I understand, it's a special kind of problem. But you're asking me to do something very different if I want to get the rewards that you're going to give me inside of the game that I do want to play, inside of retail World of Warcraft, which is, why I'm here, what this podcast is about. And that seems strange, and it begs the question, of course, of how far will people go to get rewards, and do they deserve them? I know one big argument I've heard from others is, this is too long to get to 40 to get all of the gear and all of the looks and all of the mounts and whatever. It should be pared down. You should not have to do as much. And selfishly, I would totally agree. If they cut their playing requirements down, the amount of plunder you have to grab by half, I think I would like that. That would get me there sooner. I haven't even honestly looked at all of the rewards. I don't know all of the mounts or all of the transmog. I've only half paid attention. I've jumped in a few times. I'm level 2, maybe 3. I think maybe I hit 3. I haven't done it yet today, so maybe it's level 3 today. I don't know. I'm not very far along. I think I have gloves, if that, or something to that effect. It's not a lot. But what do I deserve? What do I deserve for playing this? And do I deserve it if I don't do what Blizzard intends, what the developers intend? They want me to spend X number of hours banging around in a PvP mode that's, a little bit different from the norm. And if I do all of that, I will earn, basically without even being good, I will earn all those rewards. I just have to put in that time enough to get all the plunder, get all the gold, make my number go higher and higher. But it takes a while, and I've heard from people that it's taking many, many, many hours. And boy, wouldn't it be better if it was less hours to get the thing that Blizzard wants to give people. And I think, again, selfishly, yes, I'm all for that. But the question is, where's the challenge? What's the challenge? What's the challenge level to earn, I don't know, however many mounts, however many levels of gear, there's 40 renown levels, so whatever 40 rewards are, what should I have to do for that? And the biggest criticism, I think, or I guess the loudest, angriest criticism is the people who just want all the rewards, period. And I think, I don't know, they can't all be yours if you don't want to do the thing that Blizzard wants you to do. I think it's okay for Blizzard to say, you need to do this if you want to get that. I mean, I'm never going to have a PvP killer of people mount, whatever, I don't even know the names of them. The seasons, you do a PvP thing, you can, I assume, get to a certain ranking or score, and then if you do, you get that mount. I honestly forget what they're called. Those mounts look really cool. I see them in whatever lists or things. I think, oh wow, that's a pretty killer mount. I'm never going to see it, or I might see it, but it ain't going to be under my characters. But does Blizzard owe me that mount just because I paid my sub and there's no possible chance I'm going to be good at PvP? No. But why, in this case, where it's, as I mentioned, you don't have to be good at Plunderstorm, you just have to keep at it. I've seen a lot of people say the way to do this is not to try and win, but to spend about 5 minutes running around, get as much loot as you can, and then, don't worry about dying, because the longer the game goes, the less loot there is actually available. And if you're trying to bang this out on a time, then you should just kind of get out. And I guess, so just do the thing and you'll get there. I don't know. I feel like I'm talking in circles a little bit. It's an interesting point what we are owed as players just because we've paid the subscription, and therefore, what is the challenge? If I think if they doubled the subscription and said if you pay double the subscription, we'll give you all the stuff, there'd be people who would do that and not have to play the game. But I don't know. I'm of many minds on this, and I'm sorry I don't have a great conclusion, but I do think that there needs to be challenge in the game. I do think that things have to be hard. So, hey, yeah, I guess if I want all the good-looking things and all the mounts, I've got a lot of surviving the plunder fog for the next couple weeks. I think it ends sometime in April. We'll see how much further I get in it. I don't know. I don't love it, but I also don't hate it because there's not a lot of pressure. Part of the point of this podcast of solo queue is I want to steer away from things where there's a social pressure because it's not my jam. And really, after the first couple times I hopped in and got shot out of that cannon, I realized, okay, I'm just here running around. No one's relying on me. No one cares. I'm not in a group. I think I can just kind of treat this as kind of a PvE thing. I don't care that the other people are smarter than AI bots. Well, some of them. I can just run around, get what I need, and hop out. And yeah, it's a grind. This game is full of grinds. You choose your grinds. And if I want to, it's there. If I don't, I don't know. I guess it's not a big deal because, well, like I said, haven't looked at all the rewards yet. So there you go. That's my take on the Plundergarden. I don't know if I'll make it. My prediction is I will not get there. I won't get much further, but you never know. What else is in the news? Well, Season of Discovery is, as I said, is getting some more levels on April 4th. I have not been in there, so it feels like Season of Discovery is drifting away from me just a little bit, and that's too bad. I do hope I get there in the next couple weeks. Not a lot of other news, I feel like. The roadmap hasn't changed too much. The one thing I will mention for news, the last item I'll mention is that Nobelgarden, the Easter-based holiday, is coming tomorrow. He says optimistically that he might get this episode out tonight before the end of March. Tomorrow, April 1st, runs through April 8th. There are some new Nobelgarden quests available in Valdrakken. Things have been spiffed up in Valdrakken. There are some new rewards they mentioned on the Blizzard announcement, including a new flying carpet mount, some springtime-looking transmog sets, and the lovely duckling battle pet. And then for completing the quest line called What the Duck, you do get a duck disguiser toy. I do not know if that's new. Other people know a lot more about holidays than me, and they may tell you that, no, that's not new. The duck disguiser is, what you get. I don't know if it's a new reward or not, so I'm not your source for holiday news. I don't do many of the holidays. There's very few that I actually get into, partly because I think my time in WoW is somewhat limited, and when I get in, I don't usually just want to grind on some weird holiday. Most of them don't feel like Azeroth. Nobelgarden is Easter. Some of them fit better. Hallows Eve kind of fits. I think they've done well to fit the theming to Azeroth. Some of the others, but I don't tend to spend a lot of time on those. I think when I play the game, I want to play the game. So I'm not your authority on holidays. Oddly enough, I saw this. Nobelgarden will be celebrated in Classic 1 week later, from April 9th to April 15th. I don't know why that is. That seems interesting. I don't know if they staggered that so that people who are in both worlds don't have to grind twice as much within the same week, and now spreading it out that they get people to, spread that grind out, I guess, or maybe Classic's lunar calendar is a week behind. I don't know. It's very interesting. But if you're a Classic player, Nobelgarden will be coming April 9th to 15th. And that's kind of the news.
Looking for something special?
Before we head to Thunder Bluff, I do want to take a moment to point out kind of a special place in the game. And actually, one of my friends, kind of a supporter of the podcast and a good friend of mine, mentioned, he said, hey, are you going to do something in the podcast where you go to special locations or do stuff like that? And I thought, oh, that's kind of a good idea. And I immediately thought of a particular podcast, the Warcraft Less Traveled podcast. And in doing a little research for this segment, for this location today, I tried to go back to the Warcraft Less Traveled podcast. In fact, I went to my own, in my phone. I still follow that podcast, even though it ended in 2015. It started in 2010, so it really was kind of this sweet spot of the old world of Azeroth, the two continents. It did, of course, have Northrend and Pandaria, but it was pre-Legion. And it was a podcast put out by a fella named Skolnick. And he just kind of traveled to all sorts of hidden locations and secrets and lesser-known stories in, I think, what we can kind of think of as that original Azeroth prior to Legion. Episodes are pretty short, like 5-10 minutes, and they include some really neat little lore tidbits and location and behind-the-scenes info and other stuff that's just worth checking out. And I was very sad to find out that these episodes don't exist anymore. The Warcraft Less Traveled website is down and probably long gone. And in my feeds, I can't download the episodes. I have a feed, but I can't. I mean, obviously, I didn't fill my phone up with a podcast that's been gone for 9 years. So I was really bummed because I knew the episode I wanted to go and check out for the location I want to talk about today, and it was not there, and I was bummed. So I was going to recommend this podcast to you. I think it's fantastic. I don't know if you can find them archived somewhere. Warcraft Less Traveled. It was a lot of fun. There was about 85 episodes that came out, and they're all kind of super interesting. So I'm a little bummed to find that out today. But the location I want to mention today is kind of special. It's kind of been on my mind lately, partly in the real world as well. If you start out in Bloodhoof Village. If you start a Tauren character, you will know this. You may have forgotten or not, but I'm gonna describe it for you and tell you why you should go there. Inside of Bloodhoof Village, the starting zone for the Tauren, there's a normal amount of quests to get you started. It gets you out into the prairie there, killing some stuff and bringing back some pelts and things and all that stuff to get you used to how to operate your class and what have you. But Bloodhoof Village is on the other side of a river from the central part of the Mulgore zone. And there's a bridge over the river. And as you first head over that bridge, you will see there's a Tauren at the side of the bridge, and he's looking at a poster. He's put up a poster.
Greetings, traveler.
The NPC is named Ahab Wheathoof. And he's identified as the old rancher. And Ahab has lost his dog.
Will you help me find my dog?
And he's very sad about losing his dog. And he would really like some help. He has a quest for you. You click on him. He will give you the quest to find his dog, Kyle, because Kyle has gone missing.
I'll miss my dog so much.
Okay, you've got another little one-off quest to do. If you head out into the plains and kill a strider or two, you're going to get some meat. You come back to the village and you hunt around. You think, where is that dog?
Where is that dog?
And eventually you'll find him, and you put down the meat, and Kyle, the frenzied, runs up to you and eats his food, and he turns into Kyle the Friendly because he's very glad to have some food, and presumably he's going to head back to his person, his Tauren, Ahab. And so you go and you complete the quest. You go back to Ahab by the bridge, and he is very happy that you have found his dog.
May the eternal sun shine upon thee.
And I'm sure they'll give you, I don't know what the reward is. Of course, it probably depends on your level, but, there's not much to get out of this. It's just a quest and then a little XP, and you go across the bridge and go about your day, and you're probably headed towards Thunderbluff and bigger and better things. But there is a story behind this, and I know a lot of people know this, but some of you may not. Ahab Wheathoof is a character that, was created just for one particular purpose. Back in 2007, there was an 11-year-old boy by the name of Ezra Chatterton. Ezra Chatterton played World of Warcraft with his dad. Sounds fantastic. But in that year, Ezra had been diagnosed with brain cancer. And he, when our kids get horribly incurable diseases, stuff gets really sad really fast. And through the Make-A-Wish Foundation, which is a fantastic organization, I know our school where I work, they raise money for Make-A-Wish to help the wishes of chronically ill kids come true, to get them experiences to just fill up their life, however long or short it may be, and is a fantastic organization in the real world. If you can find them and donate to them, I highly suggest it. But Make-A-Wish helped Ezra fulfill his wish, and his wish was to visit Blizzard Entertainment. And when he did go to Blizzard, and he worked with Jeff Kaplan, one of the developers at the time, and they created Ahab Wheathoof. He is a Tauren farmer. He is really bummed about that dog, Kyle. And it is Ezra who voices the character of Ahab.
Greetings, traveler.
And, if you are if you're a longtime player and you just stumble into this quest for the first time, you will probably say, oh, this isn't the normal voice acting, sort of what you expect NPCs to say. There's no other character in the game that sounds like this. It is being voiced by an 11-year-old boy who is trying his hardest to sound really deep voiced.
I have no time for playing.
It is cute. It is really cool. And Ezra they created this quest line with Ezra. They had Ezra voice the character. And also, while he was there, and the timing worked out, that Ezra received the very first Ashes of Alar. So for all of you who are banging away trying to get the Ashes of Alar, Ezra was the very first player to receive this, as part of this adventure to Blizzard. They also created a crossbow of the Phoenix, kind of in honor of Ezra, whose middle name was Phoenix, Ezra Phoenix Chatterton, and he kind of lived by the symbol of the Phoenix, which, boy, is a little heartbreaking when everything kind of comes to the front. And of course, Ashes of Alar is a flaming phoenix bird, so it all is right there. Very sadly, of course, Ezra died a year later in 2008. He passed away a little over a year after he was at Blizzard creating this quest line. And so only 1 year later, Blizzard further honored him by creating Ezra Wheathoof, who is a combination of Ezra, of course, in real life, and his character in the game, Ahab Wheathoof. And Ezra Wheathoof is one of the elders. This is an elder at Thunder Bluff that you honor during the Lunar Festival. So if you're someone who has run around to do all the Lunar Festival people, which I did this year, that was a lot of fun, just kind of cruising, flying, and checking them off. And I did see Ezra. That's in honor of Ezra Chatterton, who died at age 12 of brain cancer. And one of the many people who are in real life who are honored inside the game. And if you want to search that, there's a lot of different little memorials in the game, and I think that's really great. It's on my mind because, God, in my world, I have a friend whose daughter is in some closing stages of another sort of tragic disease, and while not 12 years old, still not old enough, and this person is a good friend of mine, and the family are good friends of mine, and it is heartbreaking all over the place. So Ezra reminded me of that, and when I was leveling the other day with my Tauren shaman, I did, for the I don't know how manyth time, probably close to 7 or 8 times, I did go do Ezra and Ahab's quest to find the dog, feed the dog, get the dog less crazy, and get the dog back to Ahab Wheathoof. And, there's a lot of things to do in this game. Sometimes it's nice to slow down and do something that is kind of meaningful, quiet, and connected to our own lives. So I think it's a good idea to go grab a Horde character of some sort, head to Bloodhoof Village south of Thunder Bluff in the zone of Mulgore. And if you've never done this before, do it. Look him up. Look up Ezra Chatterton or look up the quest online, and you'll get some of that backstory about young Ezra, who would be 28 years old now. And so time just marches on. So, I don't know, do what you love. That's what Ezra would want. That's what he was doing. All right. Let's head to Thunder Bluff. Get to the inn and try and get a drink. I don't know. We'll see what we can find.
want a pint?
Choose wisely.
So, as I expected, there's a couple problems getting a drink in Thunder Bluff. First, there is no Thunder Bluff Tavern. So we went to the inn, and the innkeeper also doesn't really have any beverages. Well, any alcoholic beverages. But what they did have, and that seems kind of fitting having come from France, they have lots of cheese. It seems peculiar, but they have a lot of cheese at the inn in Thunder Bluff. And it does seem kind of fitting that, from the nature of the Tauren, that they sell both Horde and Alliance cheeses here. My favorite is the Red Ridge Roquefort, which seems very French, if that exists in Azeroth. And looking at the list, actually, it seems like most of the good cheeses are from the Alliance. I don't know if that's an example of Alliance bias that everyone's always talking about. You can buy Stormwind Brie, Dwarven Mild, Darnassian Blue. All sound pretty fantastic right now. There are some neutral faction names. There's Dalaran Sharp. There's an Alterac Swiss. And frankly, there's nothing on the menu that screams the Horde. Maybe the Horde doesn't have time for cheese making. There is a sour goat cheese, but there is nothing that specifically says cow's milk cheese here in the Tauren capital. I think that's probably not a coincidence. So here we are in Thunder Bluff. Maybe we'll grab some cheese to go. Thunder Bluff is a pretty unique place. It's a pretty unique capital city. I'm going to give you a quick tour, because why not? When was the last time you were in Thunder Bluff? And maybe you're an Alliance player and you've kind of never been here, which I think is the biggest reason to have a character on both sides, so you can explore both sides of this game. So I encourage you to do that. Thunder Bluff, though, even if you're a Horde character, Horde player, it's not a lot of reason to go back to Thunder Bluff. It had a brief role in Battle for Azeroth. If I remember right, there was some weird N'Zoth vision nightmare scenario that you had to come and do and kill some stuff. Go figure. It was really brief. And then people kept not going back to Thunder Bluff. Otherwise unused, like so many of the capital cities in World of Warcraft. The layout of Thunder Bluff is very different from other capital cities. It's essentially on top of 4 giant mesas or bluffs or rises, whatever you want to call it, rising up above the prairie below. Accessible by an elevator, obviously also by flying, whether it's on a flight path or the Zeppelin or, of course, your own flying mounts. But it's pretty well protected if you're trying to defend yourself. And the layout is very different from other cities. It is a bit confusing. On top of the main mesa, there's 3 different levels. It's like 3 lobes of, I don't know, what are lobes of? 3 lobes of a thing, of the mesa. They're at different levels. You can walk on the outside to get from one to the other. But there's also an inner staircase, like a central spiral staircase that will take you to all 3 different levels, as well as at the very top, the flight point. So if you come in by flight point, that's where you're going to start. And then each lobe has a separate mesa called a rise just off of it. And those 3 rises are 3 more areas. And each of the inner lobes has a bridge to connect to 2 different rises. So there are 6 bridges that will get you out and back to all 3 of these different rises. Hunter Rise, of course, is focused on hunter characters and some others. I can't remember if warriors might be out there too. There's a lot of trainers and things and a little bit of lore, a little bit of quest giving, especially if you're a hunter. Elder Rise is centered on druidic life. You can see our good friend Hemul Rune Totem out there. who of course plays a role. Archdruid Rune Totem plays a role in a lot of things in expansions all through time. The Cenarian Circle is out there as well. And the third one is Spirit Rise, which centers on shamans. Tauren, of course, are very close to the earth and close to the elements. And there's a lot of buildings and, again, some quest giving and trainers and stuff of that nature there. It also includes the platform for the Zeppelin, which travels back and forth from Orgrimmar to Thunder Bluff. So if you're trying to get there as a low-level character, you may want to hop on the Zeppelin. I don't know if the Zeppelin is faster than the flight path. I tried to time that out today, but I didn't. I just took the flight path. The inn, frankly, is one of the disappointing parts, one of the few disappointing parts of Thunder Bluff, because it's not really an inn. It's, I mentioned these bridges, and each of the bridges has a little building that you walk into. You walk up the ramp and then out the back on the second floor, and you're kind of on the bridge to the rise. And the inn is literally just one of these bridge buildings, and there's an innkeeper nestled inside of the building. And really, the inn is just a bunch of mats on the floor, and you figure, oh yeah, you go in and get some rest as other people are trooping past up the ramp, headed to Hunter Rise. That seems, not the most restful of all of the inns. I think I'd rather take a Night Elf inn anytime. But besides the inn, there's a lot of cool stuff in Thunder Bluff. Here's some of the interesting things. There is a prairie dog vendor. There literally is a one vendor kind of hidden out back on a not so used loop path that sells you essentially like a leash to go find prairie dogs. So if you're looking to grab a couple more pets, interesting pets, you can go to the vendor and grab those leashes and head out and seek your prairie dogs. Where else are you going to do that? There is a Kodo steak and ribs, good meat vendor inside of Thunder Bluff. You can find Bane Bloodhoof, of course, the child of Cairn Bloodhoof, the famed leader of the Tauren. Bane now, of course, the leader of the Tauren, and made his last appearance in Shadowlands. Is he in Dragonflight? I feel like he's not in Dragonflight. He's definitely in the Shadowlands, where we saw him, after being tortured and what have you, nearly killed, just sit on the floor for the rest of the expansion and kind of become a meme. That was a little sad, but there you go. There is a rain stick vendor. Sadly, it doesn't sell rain sticks. It just sells 2 staffs or staves. What are staves? Are staves just multiple staffs? Staves? I should know this. Why don't I know this? I feel like staffs and staves are the same thing. This is one of those things that is really simple to look up on the internet, but I will not do it. You could go to Winterhoof Totems, the store, but sadly, the vendor doesn't sell anything. So it is identified with a sign out front as a store, but the vendor, you can talk to him, but nothing to sell. My hunch is maybe my Thunder Bluff conspiracy theory is that this is just another example of globalization and big corporations putting local small businesses out of business. Because where do you need to go to get totems? A trading post. Yeah, think about that for a minute. You could go to Elder Rise Drums, but similarly, they do not sell anything either. That's a bummer. I want to go buy drums. Thunder Bluff has all the professions traders. It has all the secondary professions, so everything you need. It has a bank, an auction house, guild services. It is a full-service capital city. And the last thing I saw that was really cool is there's even a whole bunch of little buildings that are empty, and they're buildings like kind of tents, like sort of teepee-ish tents. They're unique to the game. They're a unique style, to be sure. But there are some Elder buildings. There's a couple on Elder Rise. There are some on Spirit Rise as well. And I think if you wanted to role play as this was your place to live, I think that would be pretty cool. And I wonder if people do that. Just grab one of these empty buildings and kind of consider like, yeah, this is where my character lives. In fact, I might even do that. It seemed kind of cool. But then my next thought as I was walking around was, wouldn't it be really cool if Blizzard kind of did that? Like if they kind of jumped on this idea and offered, I know, player housing, like people have been talking about it for years, but what if, similar to the instancing technology in the Garrison, but this was just smaller and less of a big deal. It wasn't this whole grand complex, but you had that sort of instanced technology to let you into your own building. You know, there are numerous buildings in the world, and you claim one, and that becomes your hangout. They're not big. I don't think they need to be big. I don't think player housing needs to be, I don't think it needs to be much bigger than your house in Animal Crossing, furnished by Tom Nook. Why not, right? But if Blizzard decided we're going to designate a number of these small little buildings in the capital cities, find some in all the capital cities, and random rural places in various zones, maybe even all the zones. I know I have one character, my Pandaren priest. I imagine that she lives in this little crossroadsy thing. I don't even know which zone it is, but there's a little building that I kind of pretend that's where she lives. And I think that would be really cool. We saw in the recent cinematic on the introduction or the opening of Belemeth, the new Night Elf city, we saw the Tyrande Malfurion Love Nest, and you can go up there, and it's just a little open living area in Belemeth. That could be one, unless it's taken by Malfurion and Tyrande catching up for lost time, which we may want to not intrude on. But something like that, wouldn't that be amazing? One never knows. Well, let's get to our main topic. I originally had a very different main topic scheduled for March. Looking ahead, I thought, okay, this will be a good month to do this topic. And between vacation and work and coming back from vacation and being behind and everything being crazy, that just did not fall through. I have not done the research that I need to get to that, and I promise we'll get to that topic, which I shall not reveal yet. But this month's topic is maybe a cheat a little bit, but I'm going to say part 2 of what to do when you're waiting for an expansion. Some more things that you can do to kind of bide the time and get you to the next expansion. The first one should sound a little familiar. You could take a vacation. And I don't mean go to France or go do anything, but you could take a vacation from WoW. And I know a lot of people do this, so this is probably not news, but I know as someone who, I pay my subscription once a year, I buy that 12-month subscription and I don't think about it, and I don't play the game of, I'm going to subscribe for a couple months and take some time off. I'm not interested in doing that. I'm luckily in a position where I can just afford to, pay that money and sort of forget about it. I think it's not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things, but I do know that for some people it is, and some people who love this game are not necessarily in a position to just open up for every single month, especially if you're not playing. But if you do that, if you do pay for the whole year, on some level you kind of feel like, I should be playing. I mean, I paid. It's sort of like I paid for Netflix. I don't think I'll watch it this month. Said almost no one ever. But I'm here to tell you that take some time away. Don't play only because you have to. Don't get dragged into making this a chore and not fun. If you need to take a couple weeks off, do a couple weeks. It can be kind of nice to just reset. So That's one thing to do when things are low and you're waiting for an expansion. Take some time away. Do some other stuff in your life. You may have other things that you like doing other than World of Warcraft. That's possible. And if it's not true, if the only thing you like in your life is World of Warcraft, no judgment. There are some things you can do that are not playing the game. So the next suggestion I have for you is go and read some of the vast amount of content that is not in the game. There are novels out there, there are books, there are comic strips, there are, of course, the 4 Chronicles books. There's 3, but there's Volume 4 is coming out soon. The Chronicles books, of course, have lots of lore in them and explanations and things, and I know the internet is slightly abuzz lately about, but are these true, or are they just told from the Titan standpoint, or are they whatever? Like, who cares? It's like pretty pictures and stories and lore and information about the world of Warcraft, the world of Azeroth, the universe of World of Warcraft. And it's just interesting. So I think they're fantastic. I have Chronicles Volume 1. I have not yet acquired 2 and 3. That'll happen some point soon. There are lots of books, novels. Check your library, your local library. They may have them. I don't know. I mean, Warcraft's popular, but it's not Stephen King. I don't think I found them at my local library. I do have a couple. I've borrowed a couple. I've downloaded some. You can find bundles of books and things like that. And if, diving into a whole book is not your thing, I have another suggestion. Head to the Warcraft website. If you go to the World of Warcraft website and you click on Game Info, and under that tab is Lore, and you head down to Story and Media, click on that, and you're going to come to a page that is full of short stories and cinematics. They have links to the books, some of the comics and some of the novels that I mentioned. They include the kids' books series, which, they're kids' books, which means they're super entertaining and easier to read, so why not? But I suggest clicking on that page and wandering around. I frankly had not been to this page. I'm sure I've been here before, years ago, but I have not been for a long time, and there are just lots of cinematics, all those series of cinematics that you would get from the Harbingers animations from Legion, the animations, cinematics from Warlords, everything they kind of put out, Battle for Azeroth, Shadowlands, all the things to pump up the new expansion. Those things are there. Some of the in-game cinematics are there. Azeroth choppers, if you were around for the game then, when Warcraft and the Orange County Choppers, or whatever they were, TV show, did a crossover thing. There were 8 episodes of Azeroth Choppers. I never watched that. I was not playing the game then, so we'll see. I might check that out. I don't know. I frankly think it's weird that there are full-on motorcycles in the game. I don't have one as a mount. I think it's odd, but, you do you. But check it out. There's a lot of stuff in there, and some of it's download. Most of it's for download. The short stories are for download, and then I mentioned some of the books are links where you can go purchase those things. If you're not up for reading it all right, that's okay. There are so many content creators, and you probably know this, and I'm not gonna wow you with this, but I do want to send you to somebody that you've probably heard of. If you're looking for history of Azeroth, if you're looking for the lore and the stories of Azeroth, I think there's probably no better place you can go outside of the game, maybe even better than inside the game, and that is the YouTube channel of Nobel87. I think the fact that he has 607,000 subscribers is not even as impressive as the fact that he has more than 1,700 videos out. That's crazy. Many of those videos choose a small aspect of Warcraft and dive deep into it. Noble also offers various playlists that kind of curate a list of his videos on a particular topic. So click on one of those playlists and just take in all the information. He's got, I think, a fantastic voice. I'm someone who really thinks about voices and likes voices. He has a great accent, and I don't know, that may not be for everybody, but I think his voice is pretty fantastic. So Noble87, if you're looking for lore, do that in your downtime. I was going to make a second content suggestion here, and that was going to be sadly, the Warcraft Less Traveled podcast. And now I'm very sad because it is no longer available. So, as I mentioned, if you somehow find access to that, A, let me know, but B, check it out. Skolnick did a great job of really reporting on the little bonus tidbits, and so I'm sad about that. I really am. This is kind of live response and reaction to sadness. So I'm bummed that that's gone. Next suggestion for what to do in your downtime to get away from some in-game WoW, whether it's retail or classic. If you never did, go play the RTS games. Warcraft 1, Warcraft 2, Warcraft 3. I've mentioned them before a little bit on the show. I mentioned last month that Warcraft 1 and 2 are now available on the Battle.net launcher, so it's never been easier to track down the RTS games. So if you're looking for something different and, different play style, if you're all battle royaled out and you're tired of playing Fort Plunder or whatever it's called, well, RTS. Now, yeah, these are pretty old games. They are not new, but there's a lot of great backstory that forms the backbone of all of these later stories in Azeroth. Those RTSs were the first Warcraft games out there, so why not jump in, play it on easy mode just to kind of get all the story bits and get the gist of what was going on in Azeroth before the world of Warcraft showed up, before the MMO arrived. Here's another suggestion. It's kind of a project, because I think Warcraft is fun when you make projects, and I'm someone who likes to make projects. And this is a project I did not that long ago, actually, and that is to run around all of the capital cities of all the different races and collect all of the weapon appearances and all the armor appearances. A lot of them are gray quality, or, they're the basic starter weapons or what have you. But with the change in the last couple of years, I forget when it was, but it now allows, all of your appearances to be added as transmog. A lot of people may not have some of these very basic appearances. And, you could stare at lists and really shop and think, ooh, that's one I want to get, or that's not one I want to get. But frankly, they're all like copper and silver. Like, this is not a big investment of gold we're talking about. And it's kind of fun. You head to capital city of your faction, of course, and go visit all of the vendors, the leather merchant and the cloth merchant and the mail armor merchant, and the plate mail merchant and the weapons merchants and the bowyer, the gun merchant. Go visit all of these different vendors, buy up all of the different things that they have. Some items that I think are common across all of the races in all the different capital cities, but there are also some specific ones for each race. And so why not head out to those capital cities? You get to explore some new places, wander around, visit places like Thunder Bluff, where you may not have been for a while. And then you're adding just a lot of basic sets to your transmog, to your weapons, things like that. Yeah, you may not use most of them, but you may stumble onto some. They're just in there. If you're doing Trial of Style at some point, or if you're just kitting out a new character, you may want something a little bit more basic, and those will be there for you. So why not? Okay, I have one last suggestion for you this month. One last item I think is worth doing, and this may not be on everyone's radar. And that is, I think it is handy to have a water mount, specifically an underwater mount. Obviously, if you're underwater, you're swimming and it's really slow. I forget what the percentage is. I think it's like 60% of normal speed, and that's really slow. There are underwater mounts, and it is nice to have them. Frankly, I have one, and every character I make, I pop in the subdued seahorse into one of my little action button things, and when I find myself in the water, I pop Control S, and I'm mounting my seahorse, and underwater you can move around at kind of normal speed. I think it's 108%, I forget. It's much faster than swimming. Now, you still have the issue of needing to breathe. That's why you should be a druid, because then you don't have to worry about that. But for all my non-druid characters, they all need the seahorse. And how do you get the seahorse? Well, they don't just give them away. You can obtain the subdued seahorse by acquiring the reins of Poseidus. Poseidus is a quote-unquote rare mount. I'll say air quotes on that. A rare mount in the underwater zone of Vashj'ir. Vashj'ir is a zone from Cataclysm. And frankly, to get there, it's a little bit tricky. You have to start the Cataclysm quest chain. So it's entirely possible you are a player who came in after Cataclysm. Maybe you've never done Cataclysm. You have a high-level character, but you've never done any of the Cataclysm stuff. I think it's worth heading back into your capital city of Stormwind or Orgrimmar and finding the quest giver that starts you off on the Cataclysm quest chain, because you start in the underwater zone. It's neat. I don't know, people complain about the underwater stuff, and yeah, it's a little different and slightly hard to navigate, but it's fun. It's a different place. It's more zones. If you're doing Lore Master, as I suggested you did last month, and hopefully you've done that, then you will need to go to the Cataclysm zones. You'll need to go to Vashj'ir anyway. And in Vashj'ir, there are a few rares. One of them is Poseidus. He's a rare spawn, and by rare, I think he shows up, he spawns every 4 to 6 hours, which, okay, for a lot of servers, that will be the case. But as I mentioned last month, the way to get the Mr. Pandaria world bosses is to get onto an RP server, and this applies here as well. Because think about this, on a server with a couple thousand characters, what have you, some of these RP servers are pretty small. And I can tell you the servers I use if you want. Why don't I pull that up real quick? So the RP servers that I use, on the Alliance side, I use Kirin Tor, Feathermoon, and Argent Dawn. They're all relatively small, and they are all Alliance heavy, meaning if you want to hop into war mode and go do these things, or not war mode, but there's more Alliance than there are Horde. And on the other side, on the Horde side, I use Silverhand and Earthen Ring. They are both Horde heavy RP servers, and again, relatively small. And so when you roll up on a rare like Poseidus, who spawns 4 to 6 hours after the last time he was killed, he's just there because no one's in this zone. No one needs to go to this zone. Anybody who needed to go to this zone did it years ago. Cataclysm's a long time ago now. So you should be able to, most of the time, roll up on Poseidus, knock him down, and the drop rate, Wowhead has the drop rate listed as 99.54%. I almost got to think the less than 0.5% of the people who don't get it are people who just don't collect the mount or don't see it or get disconnected. I don't know. That seems weird. Why would they make a drop chance of just slightly less than 100%? So you should be able to come over to Poseidus, knock him over, and get as loot the Reins of Poseidus. And the Reins of Poseidus is essentially the spell that teaches you the mount, the subdued seahorse, the subdued abyssal seahorse. And it is only summoned in underwater environments. If you are in the Vashir zone, if I remember right, it makes your travel speed something like 270%. It is less in all other underwater zones. So I know there's some Legion, there's some places I would always use it when leveling. There's, anywhere you have water, like fishable deep water, that's places where you can mount up and use this mount. And it's super handy. And it's the one that I keep, and maybe it's because it's an easy one to get. When I was doing my research for this and looking up, because I don't remember getting Poseidus, it was a few years ago. So I looked up, the details, and I saw a lot of people complaining that, Poseidus, or I should say the seahorse, isn't as cool as the sea turtle from Northrend. And I thought, ooh, okay, tell me more. I don't know about the sea turtle. I know there are a couple underwater mounts. I don't know, I want to say 3, maybe at the most, maybe 4. But so I knew that there were others. The sea turtle is a Wrath of the Lich King mount, and its benefit, and the reason everyone was saying, this is so much better, is the sea turtle can walk on land. So if you have a mount that acts as a ground mount and an underwater mount, I can see the benefit of that. I can see that being pretty useful. It is not a flying mount, so it's not an everything mount, but yeah, it's an underwater mount that can also walk on the land. And I thought, I should look into this. Maybe I should recommend this on the podcast instead of my subdued seahorse. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. The way to acquire the turtle is you have to fish it up. So it's Wrath of the Lich King fishing, and there's numerous zones. There's like 5 or 6 zones that you can find it. If you go to Wowhead and check out sea turtle, is that what it's called? Yes, sea turtle. It will list all the different zones. Here it is: Grizzly Hills, Howling Fjord, Borean Tundra, Dragonblight, Sholazar Basin, and Crystal Song Forest. All of those zones have fishable areas that you could pull up the sea turtle mount. It will only show up in places where there is an active fish location. So you can't just throw your rod in a random location. You've got to find a school of fish to fish in. And if you do, there is a chance that you will pull out the sea turtle. And so I thought, I should try this. And I did. And maybe I'm even doing it right now. Who knows? But here's the reason that I'm going to stick by my subdued seahorse recommendation, and that is the drop rate is really, really low. I run the add-on rarity when I'm playing, and rarity essentially tells you, it estimates the drop rate of things as you knock down rares or as you kill certain things that drop something. It'll tell you how many attempts you've had, and right now rarity is telling me that I have done 51 chances at the sea turtle. I do not have it yet, which means I've fished 51 places and not pulled it up, and I am at 0.51% of the way there, which means they estimate the drop rate to be at, is that 1,000 or is it 10,000? I don't even know. You need to fish a lot, and I'm not sure if I love rarity reminding me of the math every single time I cast my line. But We'll see. I have my aforementioned Pandaren priest. Her name is Anama. She is my master fisher panda. She's rocking the Mastercraft Kaluak fishing pole from earned through the Tuskar. That's another little project you could do. You could get that Mastercraft Kaluak fishing pole from the Borean Tundra. It adds plus 13 to your fishing. I've got the Tuskar fishing spear, and Anama likes to rock her Nat's hat for when she's fishing, so all of that to boost that fishing skill up a bit. So, casting now to see up to 52. Still my luck. We will see. Maybe I will end up pulling the turtle out at some point soon. But until then, I think you go kill Poseidus. Get yourself a underwater mount. Something to do that is a little bit different from whatever your normal grind is in the world of Warcraft. It looks like our time in the queue is up for this month. I'm so glad you joined me. Thanks for coming back for episode 6. Looks like it is my time for my daily plunge into Plunder Night, so I can get not noticeably closer to the next set of gloves or whatever it is I'm on the cusp of. Or, I don't know, maybe I will just stay right here on the banks of the river in Grizzly Hills and press F for fish a couple hundred more times as I edit this episode. Remember, all the music that you hear is the work of the amazing people at Blizzard. Hashtag don't play muted. Come on. It's good stuff. The music taking us out right now is by my real friends in the band Ogre. So I didn't make the Massachusetts show or the show in Baltimore where the boys in Ogre got out just before that tragic bridge collapse. Man, the real world does require some escaping sometimes, doesn't it? But 2 nights ago, I did get to a fantastic show right close to the Solo Q headquarters. And they are in excellent form as they continue to celebrate 25 years together as a band. So go search Ogre Age of Ice on YouTube. Maybe if you watch that enough times, it'll stave off the possibility of one last snowstorm they're predicting for next week here in Maine. I want to thank everyone who made this episode possible. My lovely and supportive wife, don't tell her. Good folks at Podbean who are hosting Solo Q. You for listening, thank you. If you want to support the show in even a small way, you can find us at Patreon at Solo Q Wow. Big shout out to my current patrons, Andrew, Righteous Bandy, and That Sky Guy. Their support is helping me keep going with this little Solo Q project. Subscribe to the podcast at your podcast feed of choice, Apple, Spotify, all the places. RIP Google Podcasts, which, as I recall, is going down on April 4th, so stop looking there, I guess. If you subscribe, that's helpful to me. And hey, more numbers, more people that find it. If you could leave a 5-star review with Apple or Spotify, that'd be fantastic. Go for it. I will even read any reviews you put on here. I didn't check this month. Maybe I'll get my first review. I don't know. You can contact me at soloqwow, SOLOQUEUEWOW @gmail.com. Any questions or feedback or stories of your play, I'll try and feature them here when I can. You can also find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, various things. SoloQWow, same thing. Good luck getting to Renown 40 and the Plunderverse. Hopefully they will trim down those requirements for us non-PvPers and non-Fortniters. Who knows? I don't know. But if they do, we can talk about it in April, the next time we hop back into the Solo Queue. I'll see you out there.